Hello and Kia Ora viewers. Welcome to Let's Talk Strategy, the show where we dive deep into how founders and visionaries craft their business. Today, I'm joined by Jithin, who's the founder of Wismopay, a fintech reshaping businesses managing payments and financial operations. But Jithin brings more than just startup experience onto the table. He's also the chairperson of Sandringham Business Association here in Auckland, where he plays the key role in empowering local businesses and building vibrant communities. So, Jithin, welcome to the show. It's a real pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Ankur.
Awesome. So let's just begin. As you know, we have five segments of the question answer round. So the segment one is the origin story. So the question is, what sparked your idea for Vismopay?
I've been in business for a while. Like I've been an entrepreneur for the past 17 years. Started my journey as a 19-year-old, and I'm a product of New Zealand small business. And my experience has been in trades, retail, and predominantly small business. Especially when I started my retail businesses. It was just before COVID, and I was also actually recovering from a long-term chronic pain illness, and it was eye-opening to me at that point because previously, as a services-based business, it was all invoice-based. So we didn't have the pain points that I actually experienced in a retail business, where applying for a merchant account was quite a tedious process, and also setting up the FPOS terminals, the POS point of sale software, and Uber Eats was pretty new at that time in 2017. And we had a separate tablet for Uber Eats, and then eventually you would then have a separate tablet for DoorDash, and then you would have a separate tablet for another company, and then different FPOS terminals. And then raising costs had brought upon transaction fees that retailers were on forwarding it to the customers. And then you saw that more and more dairies and small businesses were sticking these transaction fees for credit cards and even PayWave. And I was also actually at that point following the fintech journey, especially in Southeast Asia, namely India, China, and how they've sort of been managing money and their digital assets, especially the likes of UPI or be it WeChat. And if you look at their stories in the last 10 years, they went from a largest cash society to being now one of the largest digital economies. And I took a lot of inspiration from that. In fact, UPI businesses like Paytm, PhonePay, and even PixPay from Brazil, LinePay from Japan we've done a whole lot of case studies on that as well. And we wondered always why is anyone doing that here in New Zealand and Australia? We've seen a lot of open banking payment solutions, but we've not seen a holistic payment like a digital asset management platform in New Zealand and Australia. And that's all it started from about 3 years ago. A lot of research going into all of this idea.
Now, thanks for that. And that actually tails to the next question of mine that you mentioned about the revolutionary change across the globe, especially in the Southeast Asian territory with Paytm and other assets coming in. How did you identify that this market gap can actually fulfill the need of a small market like New Zealand?
New Zealand is a very mature market if you think about it, right? Like it's a very especially when it comes to cards. We've been using cards since the 70s, from my understanding. And we were actually pioneer in setting up the card system. Like we in the 70s, we had a centralized FPOS terminal where customers from multiple banks could use just one machine, unlike in the US where they were using multiple machines. So we were actually we spearheaded the whole card revolution. So it's a very mature card market. And that is probably one of the reasons why the whole phone paying QR code hasn't taken up, because we have such seamless, systems in place already. But then you'll have to ask yourself a question: are we ready for the future? So if you look at consumer behavior, and then especially if you look at the decision making, we are making a whole lot of decisions through our smartphone. What you want to buy, and where you want to buy. A lot of reviews that you read, you do it on the phone. So a lot of decision making is happening on the phone already. And if you look at global trends, everyone is moving towards the smartphone to make that decision and also pay for the decision. Whereas in New Zealand right now, although you do make a lot of decisions on your phone, you then revert back to your card payments, which obviously comes with transaction fees and so on and so forth. And also with with AI and cryptocurrencies and other digital assets, we actually don't have a platform that we can actually manage those payments efficiently. Like, you have different avenues that you have to go to, but you don't have a platform where you can actually have an overview of things that you can do, that you can look at and then manage them. So although it is a small market, it is about addressing the future needs of New Zealanders and Australians and the wider Asia Pacific.
Makes sense. And thanks for sharing that part as well. Next is, was there a defining moment, or let's say an aha moment, which when you know that this will become big?
Defining moment. It's difficult to say right now, to be quite honest with you. It makes a whole lot of sense in my head, right? But then at the end of the day, you and I have no control over market forces and how consumers will receive it. What we can do is look at how companies have applied strategy when it comes to fintechs like ourselves, right? And then you look at consumer behavior, you look at global trends, and you look at the pain points. You speak to your potential customers. So it's not just about us building a product, but it is actually about building a loved product. So we speak to our potential customers and go, would you use this? Is there need for this? And you get to see a certain pattern that, okay, more and more, some people are polite to you, so you can't take their word for it, right? Majority of them are very polite to you. So you got to understand and see and identify those patterns that actually, you know what, there may be a slight chance for this. All you need is that small encouragement, and then you go for it. So, and then you do your bit. You hopefully you build a love product, and then we go for a POC. And if the POC is successful, and that's where you have, okay, now we can scale this.
Which makes sense. And talking about strategy, as you mentioned, that brings us to our next segment, which is thinking strategy. So, how do you approach the strategic decision making process at Wismopay?
So at every day, you sort of apply strategy. Like, I see strategy as a live document. What works today may not work tomorrow. So you sort of adapt to things. And technology is evolving so quickly that you cannot just stick to one thing and think it'll be okay by the time you implement it. We've been on this journey for the last 3 years. A lot of things have changed in the last 3 years, and a lot of things will change in the next 3 years. So you stick to your basics. which is right. Why are you building this? What are you building? And how are we building this? So you get those basics right. And then once you have clarity around it, you focus on just on those three things. And when it comes to strategizing at that point, it's all about what's working for you, identifying what's not working, and quickly moving on. And you can only do that by having a whole lot of conversations with your potential customers.
Mhm.
And once you keep getting that feedback, and hopefully honest and genuine feedback, then you can, make those slight changes and keep moving ahead.
Which is the perfect way, and understanding, as you rightly said, that what works today may not work necessarily tomorrow. So taking the right path at the right time, I think that's the way to it. So thank you for sharing that. Next is from your work in Wismopay so far. Can you share a pivotal strategic choice that reshaped your path?
So there were quite a few actually. So in the beginning, we thought we would start this as a conditional payment business where it's going to be like an escrow services for all online payments. And then we thought to ourselves, hang on a minute, that's just too small of, I mean, that's not enough utility for customers. So then we spoke to a whole lot of people about, hey, would you use this? And everyone's like, well, we might use it once or twice, but then for that, do we have to download the app and then go through the whole thing for not enough utility? And then we thought to ourselves from my retail background that why don't we start this as a POS point of sale, sort of a hardware and a software business, because there are so many transaction fees and devices going on. And we thought to ourselves, and we looked into it at the marketplace, and we thought, you know what, Lightspeed's there, which was previously Vend, and there are so many other, good accounting softwares that sort of are consolidating things, that are implementing AI. And this was even 2, 3 years ago, before AI was like, talked about so much. And we thought to ourselves, that's a bit crowded as well. And then we looked at UPI and we thought to ourselves, why isn't anyone building something like a UPI, where you have great utility for the user, benefits for the merchant, when you bring both of them on the same platform.
Mhm.
And that's where it's sort of, we've pivoted from one thing to another, and then from another thing to another. And then we found our business idea where we sort of unified, right? Okay, so we've got Wismopay, which is an account to account pay tech,
Mhm.
with a conditional payment attached,
Yep.
which means you can still make that delayed payment for services, or goods, and safeguard yourself. And at the same time, you can also pay your merchants day to day. So there's much higher utility for you where you can go to a local dairy or, supermarket or, your local restaurant or takeaways, and you're constantly using the app. It's not like a one-off thing, once every 6 month thing or anything like that. And for merchants, they have, benefits where they're just paying a monthly subscription fee, and they don't no longer have to pay us a piece of their pie to accept payments.
So how do you measure returning customers to Wismopay?
How would we measure returning? So that's a very good question, right? Because we've thought about that a lot. And this is how we are going to go about it once the app is live. We are only going to implement the app in a certain location. So, for instance, as you know, I'm the chair of Sandringham Business Association. So we'll take that as an example. So if we were to implement Wismopay merchant solution to all the businesses in the village,
Mhm.
and then we would like to incentivize customers that come to our village to download and onboard themselves onto the platform. So these are your customers that come to the village 3 or 4 times a week to buy their milk, their bread, their eggs, and takeaways, and local groceries. So that way, we would then be able to track the activity of the user on the app. So it's really important. So it is not about number of downloads.
Yeah.
What's important is the usability of the app on a day-to-day basis,
Right.
and that's the whole POC. So once the user downloads it, is the user comfortable enough to keep coming back? Every time they think of their card or cash, they have to now think about Wismopay. They don't have to use their card. They don't have to use cash. As long as they have money in their digital wallet and they're going to Sandringham village where it is accepted. So it's a change in consumer behavior, right? So which is very hard, which will be our uphill battle as well.
It's awesome. Thanks for sharing that as well. This is a two-part question, and I think that aligns with what we've been speaking so far. First is what is a long-term vision for Wismopay, and the second part is how do you balance its immediate goals or deliverables against the future?
So the long-term vision for Wismopay is we are very much we look at ourselves as a platform where you can manage your digital assets efficiently, safely, and securely. So if you were to think about money has changed forms over the years, right?
Mhm.
So we went from barter system to exchanging coins and copper, brass, silver, gold, and then we had a stage where money is backed by golden reserves, which was then removed. And now we are going through a fiat money stage where money is not necessarily backed by gold, but it's just there. You can print as much money as you want. And then there's a whole lot of talk about stable coin right now, which is a form of digital currency.
Yeah.
And then there's also cryptocurrency, and so on and so forth, right? So where are you going to manage your digital assets going forward? How are you going to invest your money? How are you going to transfer your money or transfer your digital assets from one place to another? So that is the longer vision of Wismopay. Imagine you have an AI lending company in fintech space, which is going to happen very sooner than later, right? So if you're a merchant with us or a user with us, we would like to partner up with a fintech company that is AI driven, a lending company, for example, and then you authorize them to go through your transactions and offer you services, which can happen within within a click of or touch, I must say. And then you'd be presented with offers by this lending company. Same thing with insurance,
Yeah.
Same thing with buying any goods or services. So it's a bit more bespoke, service for both the consumer and the merchant, which completely lacks right now. And you're having to go to different places to do different things, and it takes time and effort, and it is not seamless. And that's a bigger vision.
Thanks for sharing that. And talking about AI and in totality, that brings us to our next segment, which is the future. And the first question is, as you mentioned about AI, briefly, how is AI influencing Wismopay today?
We use it to code. Our developers use it to code it. It takes out a whole lot of um, uh, doubts away, because it actually helps. And also we use it day to day. We use GPT, Grok, in our day to day, say business planning or business cases or research. It's helped us a great deal. Even with posts, be it LinkedIn posts or coming up, brainstorming for marketing ideas. It is amazing, man, because once you understand how to efficiently use AI in your business, you can use it at different levels. You don't have to be a tech expert for it. It's just about it's like having a friend um, that you can talk to 24 hours about anything, and it'll come back with something or the other. Most times very useful.
Absolutely. Awesome. And the next is because the fintech industry itself is quite regulated. It's an entirely regulated landscape. So how do you stay relevant and competitive in this industry?
Quite right. It's quite a regulated market. So we've been actually dealing with compliance for the last 5 months. So it's not easy. And also there's sense of, when something is regulated so well,
Mhm.
it is also scary for the regulators when someone like us comes along and says, "Hey, you know what? We can do it this way, and it's a lot quicker. Or it's easy." And then immediately the red flags go off. Like, "Oh, hang on a minute. Is this safe? Is this secure?" And that's where it helps to have case studies around the world, where 21 countries have already taken this initiative around the globe with account-to-account paytech, and they're saying and literally screaming that this can be done safely, actually more safely and securely than a card, right? So it's a double-edged sword if you think about it. But at the same time, if founders understand what they're doing, and they have clarity around how they're going to address the safety and security issues, especially with the regulators are there to help you. Be it, especially in our case, be it FMA or any other regulator that we spoke to, they were so interested in understanding how we're doing this, and everyone had good advice to give us. So yeah, it's all about clarity and understanding. Um, you know,
It's a perfect response. Thank you for that. That brings us to the next segment of our show, which is the leadership. So the first question is, Chitin, you mentioned that you've started your entrepreneurial journey when you were just 19. So what's that one lesson that you've heard, you've learned the hard way as a founder?
um, it sometimes, most times, what gets me is overthinking things. Especially, I'm a university dropout, and I started my first business when I was 19. Right, so I don't have any education in tech. So when I especially started this business, I was like, "Oh, do we need a CTO? We need a CTO." I'm not a tech expert in this, and so on and so forth. So we have to find right CTO and so on and so forth. Um, my advice to founders is don't think about it. Back yourself. Back yourself. Um, Go on discovery. Discovery doesn't need any CTOs. It doesn't need any money. It doesn't need any validation from anyone else but your customers.
Yeah.
So if you have a business idea, be it in any sector, understand who your potential customers are. Go and talk to them first. If you go talk to them first, a lot of things will fall in place eventually, and you will find more clarity on how to go about your business, or even not to go about your business. You may think that you have a great idea, and then you speak to 500 people, and you probably come to realize that, oh, you know what, this isn't such a great idea. So don't overthink it. Don't strategize too much in the beginning. Um, Go talk to your potential customers, who you think are your potential customers. Have lots of conversations, honest conversations around it, and then take their feedback and then just introspect and then take it from there.
That's perfect. Thank you for sharing. This is really going great. So the next is, as a leader, naturally you have your own business, you run your own entire organization as Wismopay. How do you maintain alignment across your team and across your business?
Right. Alignment. It's alignment really only comes down to the vision, in my experience. Right. If if the team aligns with the vision,
Mhm.
the bigger vision, even if you don't align on smaller things, in my opinion, that's okay. Because at the end of the day, everyone's thinking about getting, some to the same place. And you may take different routes, which is okay. And sometimes you will disagree with your team. You can agree to disagree. But as long as the bigger vision aligns with everyone, and you know that, you know what, this is where we want to be in 5 years and 10 years. And this is the revenue that we want to hit. These are the number of customers that we want to serve. And everyone believes in that vision. That's okay. That for me is alignment. Everything else can be worked out. We're never going to agree on everything, which is okay.
100%. And vision definitely plays a key role to actually have everyone on the same field as well. Lovely. Thank you so much, Jithin. That brings us to the last segment of our show, which is the rapid fire. This is a fun and casual round. I'm just going to ask a few questions. So, first is, are you a morning person or a night owl?
Night owl, man.
Your favorite action hero?
Tom Cruise.
That's amazing. Cuisine of food you can eat every day.
Anything chicken.
Lovely. Your favorite movie?
Is actually a samurai movie. I can't think of the name now, but it is oh gosh, I'll have to look up. But it is oof, so bad at this. It is a Matrix's actor's name. What's his name?
Keanu
Uh,
Reeves.
yes, Keanu Reeves samurai movie.
Oh, I
But
don't recall.
was it Tom Cruise's samurai movie? I think it's Tom Cruise's samurai movie. Sorry, Last Samurai.
Right.
Yeah, there you
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Next is a travel destination on your bucket list.
go. Greece.
Oh. Oh. Last is, if not Wismopay, what would you be doing right now?
Yeah, probably another startup.
That's awesome. That's how visionaries work. Lovely, Jithin. Thank you so much. This brings us to the end of our show, Let's Talk Strategy. It's been incredible to hear your story, and it's really inspiring for everyone, even our web viewers who are actually aspiring to be founders or are already in the business. So, a lot to learn from you. So, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Ankur. Thanks for having me, and hopefully this would be helpful, at least for some. So,
Definitely. We'll make sure of that. Thank you so much. And to our viewers as well, we've got more inspiring founders and bold stories coming our way. So until next time, keep learning, keep building, and keep talking strategy. This is Let's Talk Strategy. Thank you.